In Choctaw lore, there is a thing that does not hunt the body. It hunts the mind. They call it the Nalusa. Stories like this are why, on Myths, Monsters, and Mullets, we listen closely. Because the Nalusa slips in through fear, feeds on doubt, and leaves only unease behind. You don't see it coming. You feel it. And once it's there, it doesn't want you dead. It wants you afraid.
Out in the woods, shadows creep slow. Footprints deep where no man should go. Cold winds howl through hollers and brooks. Whispers of Bigfoot in the way it looks. Myths, monsters, and bullets in the night. Under a pale moon, strange glowing light. Truth out there like a blade it cuts. Myths, monsters, and mullets run 'em up.
Welcome back to Myths, Monsters, and Mullets, the show where the strange, the unexplained, and the weird take center stage, and where the people behind the encounters matter just as much as the encounters themselves. We're not here just to talk about what was seen. We're here to understand who saw it, how it changed them, and why it still matters. Before we dive in, quick shout out to our supporters over on Patreon. If you want to help keep the show independent, ad-free, and unapologetically weird, head over to Patreon for members-only episodes, early access to public episodes, and bonus material you won't see or hear anywhere else. If you've had an encounter or something weird you've just never been able to explain, I want to hear from you. Email me at mythsandmullets@gmail.com. That's mythsandmullets@gmail.com. Your experience can be featured on a future episode. Don't forget to mark your calendars, June 6th, 2026. I'll be speaking at the Arkansas Cryptid Fest in North Little Rock, Arkansas. If you're into cryptids, folklore, and listening to great speakers, that's where you need to be. If you haven't yet, make sure you're subscribed, leave us a review, share the show with a friend who lives for the unexplained. That's the only way we can grow. And welcome back to Myths, Monsters, and Mullets. I am your host, John Methenkamp. On tonight's show, we have Chris Ketterman from the Drunken Cryptids. Chris, how you doing tonight?
I'm good, John. How are you?
I am just peachy. So I've talked a lot with Matthew.
Man,
But
I'm
you
sorry
and
about
I,
that.
I know. I blame Alan and Chris.
Yeah.
They're the ones that introduced me.
Absolutely.
But I talk to Matthew about every day.
Mhm.
And this is really the first time that you and I have talked. So
Yeah.
I've
Yeah,
seen you a lot on his show and heard a lot about you. So why don't you go ahead and tell my listeners a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I am the lead researcher for the Drunken Cryptid podcast. So that's why we haven't talked a lot, is I'm not on the show that often. I'm kind of behind the scenes. I'm the guy on the computer. I'm the guy that goes to, if it's local stuff, I'll go to the Historic Society. I'll go to the county courthouse, dig up records is what I do. A lot of that, luckily now, is online. So we can investigate things in Ohio. We can investigate things in Kentucky, Tennessee without having to go there. So that's what I do for the cryptids. One of our investigation areas is where I hunt. We'll get into that story later on. But it's a nice little piece of property up in White County, Arkansas, and it's beautiful out there, and it is crawling with all sorts of good stuff that we'll talk about. Born and raised in Northwest Arkansas in the foothills of the Ozarks. My mom and dad, they still live in the house that I grew up in, which is awesome. Go up and see them as much as we can, me and my daughter. They come down to see us quite often. They're actually coming down this weekend to see us, which is going to be cool. And, my family came over very, very early. We came over roughly 1751 from Germany, from around the Swiss border is where our family's from, and we settled in the Shenandoah Valley, which is in the Appalachian Mountains. At one point, my family owned 50 to 60% of the Shenandoah National Forest,
Holy cow.
and somebody in their infinite wisdom decided to sell it to the government for pennies on the dollar. But one cool thing about that is if you are a Ketterman and you can prove that you're a Ketterman of the direct line, you can be buried in the Shenandoah National Forest in Ketterman, Virginia.
That's freaking awesome.
Yeah, yeah. We've got some people that lived there, died there, and that's where they're buried. So from there, my dad's family moved from there to Tennessee, and the Tennessee Kentucky border areas where they lived, and that gets into the story of my family. So I have a great 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 aunt named Phoebe, and Phoebe was a known white witch. Everybody in the county knew Phoebe, knew she was a witch, knew that, the family legend is that she was the only one. Nah, bull crap. If there's one, there's multiple, especially back then. Um, so Phoebe, she was, like I said, my great 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 aunt. I never met the lady. I've seen photos of her, and she looks like your typical Appalachian Mountain from the early 1900s person. Um, so my dad's mom had always she had always had premonitions. She'd always had dreams where she knew what was going to happen, or she knew things that happened before she could know that they happened. A couple examples of this: she knew when her husband, my dad's Jeep rolled in North Africa, and he got thrown from it, got kind of messed up. Of course, went to the hospital. All that. His CO called her and verified it with her. Yeah, he flew out of the Jeep, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, okay. When he got home, she's like, yeah, I knew about that before he called. I had a dream about it. Okay. And she always had these dreams. She knew when dad was in a bad car wreck when they lived in Florida. He got thrown out of the back of a Corvair into an orange grove. That kind of has a paranormal thing to it also. Dad, instead of falling to the ground, he floated to the ground and landed on the ground. She knew about that before he was able to get home and tell her what happened. We think that was his dad. My dad was 10, 11, 12, somewhere around there when his dad died in a car wreck. So we fast forward many decades to 2013. I'm in my classic car that I owned at the time. I'm crossing an intersection, and a lady blew a light doing 60 T-boned me. My wife was 8.5 months pregnant with my daughter at the time. And my dad, being a former police officer, was a expert accident investigator and reconstructionist. He walked up on the wreck. He looked at the wreck, looked at me, and said, "You should be effing dead."
Wow.
So I think my grandfather was in the car because I was the same age he was when he died in a car wreck. So I'm a firm believer in guardian angels. I think he was in the car with me. So one of the cool things about my dad's mom is this is the story he told me the other day when I was, hey, give me some more. Give me some more for my interview with John. Well, we were out at a this place in Tennessee called I think it's called the Davis House. And it's just outside of Nashville, about 45 minutes outside of Nashville. And what happened there was a guy was hung by the Union Army because they thought he was a Confederate spy. And that's how the house kind of got its fame. It's an antebellum home, beautiful home on beautiful property. Well, they were there visiting because they lived in Nashville at the time, and my dad's mom just stopped dead in her tracks. She's looking at one of the upstairs windows and goes, "His wife's dressed in white. She's standing in the window." Mom and dad turn around, and look at it. At the time, the house wasn't open to the public. There was a small side museum. Now the whole house is open to the public and everything. And they're like, "Okay, she did this to him all the time." They go in the little side museum, and sure enough, there's a photo of the lady in a white dress in that window. First time
What?
they'd ever been there. Yeah, she was a cool lady. I didn't get to meet her that often. She died when I was pretty young. She died of cancer, and she, from everything I was told, was a cool lady. The little small memories I have of her, very cool lady, very sweet. But she grew up very afraid of this ability. Her mom had the same ability, same thing. She was afraid of it. So they didn't try to build it any. They didn't try to train it or anything of that nature. They just kind of let it do what it does. Fast forward to my dad. He self-emancipated when he was 15, 16 years old, which was common in the late 60s. And he moved in with a bunch of buddies of his that lived in a abandoned nursing home on just outside of Kissimmee, Florida. Well, they lived on the ground floor of it, and they would not go upstairs after dark. And the reason is because they could hear the wheelchairs moving around upstairs.
What?
And apparently the upstairs was supposed to be empty. So that's when Dad started having experiences. He also had experience at a graveyard there, where they were hanging out, doing what teenagers did in the 60s. And they're looking, there's these
Reading their
revolutionary,
Bible.
reading their Bible and drinking Coca-Cola. Absolutely.
That's right.
Yes. Uh, there's a
Same things
revolutionary.
I did.
Yes. There's a Revolutionary War soldier statue in the cemetery. And Dad said one minute they're looking at it, he's standing, at attention. They're cutting up and everything turned back. And from what he said, this soldier had then turned and aimed its musket at them. So they're like, nope. They nope it out of there. They get in the car. They floor it, and the car just sits. And they're like, okay, what the hell's going on? And all of a sudden, they feel this wham on the back of the car, and the car takes off. It's gone. They get back to the nursing home that they were all staying at. Next morning, they go out, and there's this massive handprint in the trunk of the car. So Dad's been having experiences since then. He's seen multiple ghosts. One of his sisters died in a car wreck tragically, and he's at home. He was working midnights at the time, and so he's doing his laundry. He was a police officer, so he's got to get his uniforms ready for work and everything. And the house I lived in was built in the 50s, so there was no laundry room in the house. It's in the garage, as most houses back then, when they got modern washing machines, that's where they got put. He opens the door, and his sister's standing there. He looks at her and goes, "What do you want?" As he's holding a basket of clothes. "I just wanted to let you know I'm happy and everything's fine. I'm fine." "Okay, bye." And she just evaporates into the air. Of course, saw a ghost being a police officer, saw a ghost in the military as a police officer. And, places like that, they carry energy, and a lot of it could be residual. It's not going to be intelligent. It's just residual energy from the millions of lives that have passed through, the quadrangle at Fort Sam Houston, San Antonio, at Old Main at U of A. That building was built very shortly after the Civil War. So it has seen millions of lives, millions of students through the years. Then we get to me. Earliest memory I have is the best I can describe the guy, the face the body that I saw. If you watch the movie The Conjuring, the guy with the red and black face, the yellow-eyed demon, I saw him in my room as a child. I can't tell you how old I was, John, because I don't remember, but I remember seeing him. Well, the way Mom and Dad's house was laid out was you go down a big long hall into their room, and it kind of tees off, and there's one room and then another room across. So you've got the hall wall that is catty corner to the door that I grew up sleeping in. Saw it, freaked me out, ran right into that wall, running out of my room. Of course, Dad got pretty used to it after a while, and would just tell me go back to bed. And I would see these things fairly often growing up, in either a waking state or a going to sleep state type of thing. I've always been one of those people that when I'm asleep, I'm asleep. As soon as I'm awake, like fully wide awake. It's part of the ADHD. It's one of the traits of the type of ADHD I have. So I saw these things growing up. I saw shadow figures in my house. I saw shadow figures in my grandparents' house. I saw shadow figures in uh, people that became my adoptive grandparents in their home. Never saw them in the backyard there, uh, but I've seen them pretty much everywhere I've worked since. Um, Arkansas is basically over a bed of quartz.
Right.
So, you have the theory that quartz will store the energy. So that's kind of how I explain some of it away. I can't explain the Hat Man away like that because the Hat Man is intelligent. I can't explain away the yellow-eyed demons that I've seen.
Let's talk
Uh,
about that
sure.
yellow-eyed demon a little bit.
Yeah, scary dude.
Um, like you can see the whole body or just the face?
The first time was just the face. Um, one of the encounters I talked about on the episode I did with Matthew. I'm at my then girlfriend's, now ex-wife's townhouse. We were sleeping one night, and she had this amazing little min pin. Loved him. His name was Dobie. Amazing dog, and he liked to sleep, you know, between us because it was warm, and one of those little bitty dogs. They get cold, and I kind of wake up one night, and I look over in the corner of the room where the closet was, and I see this 6 foot tall, black, scaly, yellow-eyed demon with red streaks on his face. And I'm thinking, okay, I'm dreaming. I'd had a few beers that night. Maybe that's what it is. And then I realized the dog's growling at it. And I go, okay, I'm about to get up and put my foot through this thing. Doing martial arts. I've got a master rank in 2 different arts, so I'm a pretty capable of taking care of myself guy. And I was ready to whoop this thing. And then I kind of blinked and went, if that is what I think it is, I can kick this thing all day long. It ain't going to do any good.
Right.
And I just kind of looked at it and I went, it's time for you to F and leave. And it just kind of faded back into the corner of the room. Um, so I'm going to tell on myself here a little bit. I got divorced, and our relationship ran its course. We're great co-parents, fantastic friends. Didn't work so much as a husband and wife. That happens.
I understand
Well,
that completely. That's how my first wife and I are. We
yeah,
once we decided it was over, we decided to be parents, and we would sit at the kids' baseball games and softball games together, and me and their stepdad drink beer together.
yeah,
It's the way you
yeah,
should be. It's the way you should be
exactly,
as parents.
exactly. So I reconnected with a wonderful woman who happened to be my ex-wife's roommate when me and my ex met in that townhouse. Um, we hadn't talked to each other in 17 years, so there was none of that stuff going on. We just happened to both get divorced around the same time, entered the dating pool around the same time. Was like, hey, you're sane, let's go on a date. That was 9 months ago. So I was telling her about that experience, and she goes, "Oh, you saw the guy with the yellow eyes too?" And I'm
What?
like, "Time out, hold on." What? She goes, "Yeah, I would see him in my room. I'd see him on the stairs. I'd see him downstairs." And I'm like, "Holy crap!" So that verified everything for me. Yeah, that was in Fayetteville. Fayetteville happens to be an area where the Trail of Tears cut right through it. So there's a lot of trauma there, a lot of historic trauma there. Some of the other encounters I had in Fayetteville, I was driving home through a little town named Johnson one night, and I'm not sure if this was just a shadow figure or if I saw Bigfoot, what it was. I'm going down this big hill that everybody knows called Johnson Hill, and down at the bottom there's a railroad crossing that back then you had to slow down for. Now they've kind of done some more infrastructure work, but back then it was a single, 2-lane road that you would hum down. If you hit these tracks, you were going airborne. So you slow down. My lights hit this shadow just darting across the road from one set of woods to another set of woods. And I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to the house, and just kept on going. Um,
How tall do you think
saw,
this thing was?
oh, 7, 8 foot. It
Holy
was
cow.
it was big. Yeah, it was big, but it was just black.
Right.
And part of that could have been the vehicle. I was in a Mustang, so not the best headlights. Huh? It's not like I was driving my big old jacket Jeep I got now. Where I would have went light bar. Holy crap! Trying to get my phone out in time. Also up there, I worked at a massive medical center up there that I'm not going to name for privacy reasons, and I saw numerous full body apparitions in that hospital, which is commonplace.
Yeah,
One that
you
I,
hear a
I
lot. I get a lot of
oh
people
yeah,
come on that in the medical field and be like,
yeah,
"Yeah, that hospital's
yeah,
haunted." Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
the
people die there
basement.
all the time.
Yeah, the ER. One that really sticks out in my mind. We had a unit up there that was closed for renovation. The only way to get in on that unit is if you had to have special access with your badge cards. So of course security had it, um, the house supervisors had it, and maintenance had it. That was it. Well, that evening it was me, a maintenance guy, and one house supervisor, and I knew the maintenance guy was doing his boiler checks because he had radioed me and told me he was doing his boiler checks because we had a system set up. If I didn't hear from him in X amount of time, I need to go check on him, make sure he's not down in the boiler room. I knew the house supervisor was in the ER because we had multiple traumas coming in. So I wanted to get this floor check done before they got there. So I go in the unit and I go to the left, and it's a big circle unit. It's got two nurses stations, 20 rooms on the unit, and I make my way all the way around about room 18, and I got my flashlight. I'm looking in rooms as I'm walking past, and I walk past 18. And I look in, and I kind of stop. Did did I just? And I go bebopping back and look in, and nobody's in there. When I passed it the first time, I see this 5'8", 5'9", maybe in his 70s, in bib overalls, a button-up shirt, standing by the bed, and or where the bed would have been if there had been a bed in there. And so, of course, at that point, being former law enforcement, okay, I light it up, flip the switch on, I go looking around, I check the unit 3 more times, nothing. Go downstairs, run the camera back, and all you see on the camera is me bebopping my way around this unit, stopping, walking backwards and looking in the room. I'm like, okay,
There's
cool.
probably
I don't
not
know.
cameras in the rooms, though, is there?
No, no, for privacy reasons. Yeah, HIPAA.
Right.
You got to love HIPAA. That hospital is also, it's where I met the devil one night. Um, had a guy brought in. Can't tell you what he was brought in for because of HIPAA.
Right.
But he was brought into our ER. The guy, he was enough of a threat that all three of us on security were in the ambulance bay when he was brought in the back of a patrol car. We put him in one of our safety rooms, one of our psych rooms, and put him on the bed. And you looked at this guy, and there was no soul in his eyes at all. They just looked like hollow, empty pits, and you could just feel the evil and the danger coming off of this guy. Um, by this point, I'd been a police officer. I'd been on drug task force. So I had served warrants. I'd kicked doors. I'd bought drugs. I've arrested people on federal level charges. I'd been a bodyguard. I'd been sorry about that. Um, I'd been you know, you pretty much name it in the security field at that point. I'd been it. I'd done everything. So I didn't scare easy. I still don't scare easy. And this guy frightened me, honestly.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. We were talking about you meeting the devil.
Yeah. So yeah, I was like I said, guy was brought in with PD, extremely violent, on scene, apparently extremely violent was the call that they got. They brought him in. He wasn't that violent with us, but you could just like you looked in his eyes and there was no soul. There was no life in his eyes at all. Um, very monotone, very just just gave me the creeps, and I felt I'm not gonna say I felt afraid, but I was very cautious of the guy. He was one of the few that I wouldn't go in the room with by myself. I made
Wow.
sure my partner, who was a retired Chicago area cop, was with me when we went in that room. And the guy never gave us any problems. Luckily, that was my Friday, so I didn't have to deal with him again. But he got shipped out the next morning, I guess, and never saw him again. But I truly feel that I met the devil that night. Um, so
Did he
yeah,
say
that's
anything or,
no, just
wow.
very like he wasn't. you watch TV shows, and I know there's one on TV, I can't remember the name of it, where he's very charismatic. He's very, very suave, very cool, this guy was just exuded evil,
Yeah.
just evil. And it's funny. I told my dad about it, and Dad's a retired police officer, and he goes, "Yeah, yeah, I met that guy one night. The one I met was a drifter, the homeless guy that was
Wow.
passing through." I'm like, "That's creepy." So I mean, he may not have been the devil,
Could have been a
but there
demon.
was definitely something demonic. Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely something demonic going on. But yeah, that's the first page of notes I have here. John, give me a second. I'll turn the page here.
Well,
Um,
I just want to say one thing.
yeah,
Has your family ever considered becoming Amish and just getting rid of vehicles? Because
no,
there's a lot of bad juju with
yeah,
vehicles in your
there
family.
are.
I can tell you
Yeah.
that right now.
So that Mustang, it was a '67 Mustang Coupe. I don't think no, the photo was in my room. She's the first car I ever owned. Built her from the ground up, fully restored her. We took nationals in '05 with her. Won Mustang Nationals in '05. The whole time I owned her, she was hit 3 times, all 3 times by a Pontiac. First a Grand Am, then a Grand Prix, then a G6 is what totaled it. So me being smart, I'm like, okay, all right, Karma, I got you. I see what you're going on. I'm gonna buy a GTO. Bought the GTO, moved down here, and I had two Fords try to take me out in the GTO, and I'm like, I'm done. I'm getting rid of the classic cars. Uh,
I didn't
so
realize that there was a turf war between Ford
I,
and Pontiac.
I thought it was Ford and Chevy, but no. Apparently they don't like the cars. Don't like each other, and they try to kill the owners. Uh, but no, it's Matthew suggested maybe a generational curse, which is possible where my family's from, being from Appalachia. Even my mom's side of family is from a different part of the Appalachians. So it's a very real possibility. I have cheated death 3 times. First time I was 13, 14 years old, was taken to the hospital with a 105.4-degree temperature, was
Oh,
packed in ice and woke up 2 days later in the hospital, wondering what was going on. You die at 106. Your brain shuts off. There's people that have lived through it, but yeah, I was in the hospital for a week, got out, and my stupid self went and fought a state qualifying tournament. After that, I wasn't the brightest bulb on the tree when I fought. Second time was the car wreck, and then this third time, the day before my 41st birthday, I was diagnosed with stage 3 rectal cancer.
wow.
Was having stomach issues. Finally got a doctor to send me to get a colonoscopy, and they found a tennis ball sized tumor
Holy
in me.
cow.
Yep, yep. And I you know, saw that doctor. That initial doctor woke me up out of anesthesia. I look up, my then wife is crying, her eyes out, and I'm like, what's going on? And he goes, well, we did the colonoscopy. Okay, cool. What's going on? We found a tennis ball sized tumor, and we need to cut you open and take everything from your stomach down. And I go, so well, hold on, time out. Start crying naturally. And I look at this doctor and go, so what you're telling me is you plan on cutting me open and field dressing me like a deer? Well, yeah, I don't think so, Bob. Nope. Got a second opinion. Um, Met another doctor who got me in the car tie, had my port placed, and within a week of having my port placed, started chemo, and they pumped me full of 5 different types of chemo, and then after about 6 months of that, we started the radiation schedule. So I did chemo and radiation at the same time, and 7 months after being diagnosed, I beat stage 3 cancer.
Holy cow. That's
Yep.
awesome.
Yeah, the type of cancer I had only has a 54% survival rate. Yeah, and that's what that is. I um I decided when I got diagnosed that I was beating it. Um, that there was no way in hell they were going to put killed by ass cancer in my obituary. Wasn't going to happen.
I don't mean
Um,
to laugh, but that was funny.
oh no, man, laugh about it, because that's what kept me sane during it. Is
Yeah.
I had to make fun of myself, because I go from being an active, healthy guy who plays with his kid. I can do cartwheels and roundoffs and front handsprings. I could jump up, spin around in the air and kick, all this stuff to being, I can't do anything.
Yeah.
And I knew if I let it get in my head, I was done.
Right.
So from the jump, it was no, I'm going to kick this thing's ass. Cancer touched my butt. I'm going to kick its ass now. I actually have a shirt that says "Cancer touched my butt, so I kicked its ass."
That's
Um,
awesome.
I'm I'm in the process of writing a cookbook that is "Cancer touched my butt, so I cooked its ass." I had to rediscover my love for food after treatment because the type of chemo I got destroyed my digestive tract, um, killed everything, killed the lining. You know, I am now gluten-free, soy-free, alcohol-free, low additive, low histamine, nothing spicy. So I've had to learn how to cook, like cook again, go from traditional Southern cooking where, okay, we're going to fry these wings up, cover them in hot sauce and dip them in ranch. Can't have any of that now. Um,
Yeah, and you need to go Amish and do all the bland
Man,
food.
no, I can't do it. I love the cars, man. I can't. I've got a. Right now, I've got two. I've got a 2016 Fiat 500 at Barth. That if I took it into a Fiat dealership, they would throw me out because of everything I've done under the hood. And I've got a 2017 Jeep that has 4.5 inches of lift, running 35s, and I'm kind of hoping the motor blows up so I can drop a 350 in it.
Well, I mean,
I'm
it
I'm a
is a
car guy.
Jeep, so it'll probably something probably will go wrong with it.
Oh, it's every day, man. Every day something
I give
breaks on
Matthew so much crap
it.
about
Man,
his Jeep, dude.
and his is nowhere near as bad as mine. That's the thing. Matthews runs most of the time. Um, mine was down more this summer than it was running. So,
Well,
Jeep just empty every pocket, and it's true, man. But that's that's the background. Now if you want to, we can get into the event behind the photo I sent you.
right. Before we
Okay.
get too far into
Yeah,
this,
man.
we mentioned you're in Arkansas.
Yes,
You know, we need to let everybody know about the Arkansas Cryptid Fest.
we do. Coming up in next June, June 6th of 26 at Old Bart's in North Little Rock. We're going to have the first ever Arkansas Cryptid Fest. We're going to have both free speakers and premium speakers. If I'm not mistaken, aren't you one of our speakers?
I am, as a matter of fact.
Awesome. Yeah.
Yes, I will be there. And just so everybody knows, that is my birthday week. So I enjoy PBR.
Awesome.
Just everybody keep that in mind. We're going to be at Old Bart's, and we might have to see if they can at least get me a 6-pack or something.
Man, if they can't get it for you, I'll run to the liquor store and buy you a sixer of PBR for $2. Now,
But
I
yeah,
used to, when I could drink back in the day, man, it was either PBR or Natty Light
yeah,
because it was, I mean, we're a bunch of broke college kids.
right,
Back
right.
then, I don't know how much PBR is now, but back then, man, I could go buy a 36 pack for like $6 or something, man. It was
It's more than
great.
that now, but
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Back in college, man, PBR was the stuff. Um, but yeah, the Cryptid Fest is going to be awesome. I don't know if you've had Matthew on the show since we decided to do all this. I know y'all do the guys from the internet or dudes from the internet. We basically what it is, and I may get in trouble for this. We got tired of the same old speakers, the same old content at every single paranormal expo, Bigfoot expo, cryptid thing. We wanted to change it up. So we all talked about it and we decided we wanted the new faces, the new voices, the people that are making waves in the paranormal and cryptid world. And so who better to talk to than our fellow podcasters who are making these waves? And you got people looking at them going, who is this guy with the mullet and why, you know, um, yeah. And who is this Matthew Orton guy? And where did he get the idea of the spider crawl? Well, because we saw it firsthand.
right,
Um,
right.
but yeah, I can't wait. It's going to be a blast. I'll be working a lot of it. My girlfriend's going to be one of the photographers, and she's going to be working one of the booths for us. My kid will be there, even if it's not my weekend. If my ex sees this, I'm stealing her that weekend. I'm telling you that right now. We can trade. But yeah, no, it's going to be a blast. I can't wait.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it too. A lot of our friends are going to be there. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
I've hopefully I'll have a few more tattoos by then. But yeah, that was part of the cancer thing. Whenever I found out, and I decided I'm beating this. I've wanted full sleeve tattoos my entire adult life. For a good portion of that adult life, I've been in uniform and couldn't have them.
Right.
So I started planning both full sleeves. This tattoo was only supposed to be about that big. The
It
artist walked
grew.
out with this, and I went, "Screw it, let's do it. Let's knock it out." It says warrior above it. That's one thing before we get into my encounter. Um, I don't consider myself a cancer survivor. I didn't survive a thing. I fought my ass off.
Right.
And so I consider myself a cancer warrior. And that's just the mentality I took into it. I was going to fight this. I was going to approach it with humor. I was going to make fun of myself through it, and I did, including my Saved by the Bell inspired fanny packs that I had for the chemo pump. While walking around where I worked at the time with this bright pink and green and yellow and blue fanny pack. Um,
It's freaking awesome.
I mean, I had to make fun of myself about it, John. I had to, because
Yeah.
like I said, if I didn't, I was going to get in my head and it was going to take me. So another funny thing I did here, and you're going to love this. I love the movie 13th Warrior, so I got my brother to agree to do the low there prayer at my if it did take me at my celebration of life, with the caveat after they cremated me, he had to dance his rear end down the middle aisle of my church singing "I Have a Jar of Dirt." Yep. That's how I approached my entire cancer battle, man. I wasn't going to let it get in my head and get me down. And I credit that for, part of how I beat it so quickly. And that and the folks at Carti, which is here in Little Rock. Carti is an amazing place. If any of your listeners are facing cancer and you have the option, give Carti a call. Just give them a try. If your treatment isn't working where you're at, talk to your PCP, talk to whoever you need to talk to, and see if you can get a referral to Carti here in Little Rock.
We'll have to put a link in the description.
Yeah, Carti.
Yeah. I'll make sure that that's in there when this
Awesome,
episode
man.
drops.
Yeah. Oh, so my encounter with the photo I sent you. So I hunt my now ex father-in-law's family land. It's about 200-acre farm in rural White County. The closest town is Bald Knob, Arkansas. Yes, that is a real town. Yes, it refers to a bald hill, if you will, that doesn't have any trees on it. From my understanding, the local lore is it got its name because that's where all the Choctaw and Cherokee Indians met for trading and things of that nature. So we fast forward from when they bought the land post Civil War to when I start hunting it. And this is my daughter is now 12, so this is now 9 years ago that this encounter happened. 8 years ago. Started hunting. I didn't hunt where I came from because if you don't own land up there, your only option is public land, and that is like Black Friday at the Walmart. It's you sneeze and 9 guys are going to say bless you, and you think you're out there alone. Nope. So I didn't hunt up there because of that. So I moved down here. Ex-father-in-law takes me out hunting, and he takes me to a couple different spots, and he puts me in this one particular spot. And then when I started hunting, that was his grandfather's spot, his dad's spot, his spot. So many deer have been taken from this shooting lane, which is the photo I sent you, that it would be a holocaust of deer if you put all the numbers together. So
All I
I
gotta
hunt
say is
there.
that photo is creepy, and I'll put it up right here so everybody can see it.
Yeah, that is one of my hunting lanes that I hunt. That is where I encountered the scariest thing, physical thing I've ever dealt with. So about a year after I started hunting, I go back out there. I hadn't built. There's now a massive box blind there, huge box blind. Um, well, at the time, I would walk out there with this little tripod chair that I would sit in or sit on, and I'd hunt, or I'd sit on the ground, one of the two. That morning, I had my chair with me, so I set my chair up. Now, mind you, this is 4 a.m. That photo was taken about 7 a.m. is when I took that photo. So there is no street lights. All the light you have out there is moon. That's all you have. With it not being in a box blind or a pop-up blind or anything, I don't have my phone out. I'm just sitting there in the dark. Now, this is if you have non-hunters that listen to you, which I'm sure you do. When I say it was so dark, I couldn't see my boots on the ground in front of me. I could not see my boots. Light, it's so dark up there. It's almost like the darkness absorbs light. I've got super bright flashlights I take with me. My headlamp is super bright. Of course, being a Jeep, I've got pod lights and all that stuff on my Jeep. It also absorbs the light the darkness does out there. So I get out there to where I'm sitting down, and I've never been scared out there. It's eerie walking out in the pitch black. You're walking out there, Jesus loves me, yes he does, kind of thing. Because it's dark.
I think if you're in this stuff like we are,
Mhm.
Stuff's out there.
Oh yeah,
So if you're not a little bit leery,
right.
there's something wrong with you. I'm sorry.
That's why I recently bought this. It's a night vision monocle. Um, so I don't. So I know what's out there now. But yeah, so I get out there, I get set down, and I'm chilling. I'm looking to the left, I'm looking to the right, seeing what I can see move in the moonlight. That particular night, there wasn't a lot of moonlight. Um, so I'm out there. It is black as black can be. You can hear things moving around you because it's the woods. And I've had armadillo, I've had possum, I've had raccoon walk up on me and scare the life out of me. Because you're like, what is that noise? And so you turn on your light, and there's 4 raccoons a foot and a half from you. Like, what?
When it's really dark and everything's still,
Hmm.
a squirrel sounds like a Sasquatch.
Absolutely. I don't know how that little 2-pound critter sounds like a
Right.
full-sized elk coming through the woods, but they do. So yeah, I'm sitting there, and I had my 45 on my hip. I always take either a 45, a 10 mil, or a 357 Magnum with me, just in case. That day I had a bolt action infield, 303 303 Brit. Fantastic hunting rifle. Um, so I'm sitting there, and I've got the rifle laid across my lap because like I'm sitting there and I'm looking around, trying to figure out which way are they going to be coming from. And I hear this noise in the tree line off to my left. Okay, so I kind of, I don't want to turn on my light in case it is a deer, or it's a game warden trying to catch me spotlighting because they used to do that down here. Now Arkansas has passed a law that they can't come on your property without a warrant.
Well, that's good.
Doesn't mean they can't sit at your drive and wait for you to come off the property. So I'm not sure what it was, but I'm looking over this way to my right because I'm hearing movement over there as well. Okay, and I'm hearing more movement, and I'm starting to sense something to my left. Like, okay, maybe I got me a deer. Maybe this is going to be a very short day, and I'm not going to have to sit out here for 12 hours. I'm and I'm starting to get this more and more this feeling of something to my left, like there was something there. And I kind of glance over, and I'm seeing a little bit of movement. Couldn't really make out what it was. I'm like, okay, I don't want to spook it. I don't want to stare at it. So I'm going to look back over this way. So I'm looking to my right again, and I hear movement, and then I hear the movement faster, and I hear it faster, and suddenly it's on top of me. And it was enough that when I heard the movement, I took my hand off the rifle, I got the 45, and I got it unholstered, and I got it about here when this thing was here, suddenly on top of me.
Holy cow.
And I'm sitting in a chair, so it's a normal height chair. Your legs are a little bit, so maybe it's a little bit lower to the ground than a normal chair. And this thing is towering over me, John. It is every bit of 7 foot tall. And I'm looking out of the corner of my eye, and it's darker than the night around it. And it's there. I can see it. I can feel its presence. I'm looking straight forward, and I'm kind of out of the corner of my eye using my peripheral vision, and fight or flight kicked in, and I kind of feel bad that I didn't point the gun at it because of my training, but at the same time, I wonder what would have happened if I had pointed the gun at it. So this thing, like I said, it's at least 7 foot tall, but it is skinny as can be. It is, if it was a person and it was 7 foot tall, I'd say it maybe weighed 170 pounds.
Oh, wow.
Rail thin, just rail thin. Very long arms, longer, much longer than normal. Um, everything about it was elongated except for its head. Its head was a normal shaped head with a very long neck. I didn't see any eyes. I couldn't make out teeth, and it wasn't breathing. And I think that's what got me the most about it is it wasn't breathing. But I've got this thing standing, looming over me, and its fingers, like I could make out like it was standing there, plain as day. I can still see it today. I could make out its limbs, I could make out its legs, I could make out its torso, I could make out its fingers were long, like much like double what a normal person's fingers would be, very long, almost came to a point. Its fingers actually kind of resembled uh, small tree limbs, like those little tree limbs that grab you as you're walking through the woods. It's kind of what they reminded me of, and it stood there 30 seconds to a minute and a half maybe, and then as quick as it came up on me, it retreated back into the woods at quicker than I can move, and I'm a pretty athletic guy. I can move pretty quick. I'm about 250 pounds, but I still run a sub 640 at 42 years old. Um, so I'm a pretty quick guy, and this thing moves quicker than I can move. And it just back into the woods, and it was gone. And it's never. I've seen it a few more times since then in the distance and in the tree lines, but it's never come back on me again. Never come up on me again. So uh, fast forward a couple of years, and I'm out there and I'm hunting. You know, by this point, I've built a box that I gun hunt out of. I don't bow hunt out of this box. It's not built for bow hunting. So about 40 yards from this box, I have a ladder stand up in a tree that I bow hunt from. And during bow season, you can look out into the pine grove that's in front of you, and it's old growth pine, and you can see them, the shadow figures walking through the pines as you're out there. And yes, I
Multiple?
multiple, yeah,
Holy
a,
cow.
a dozen of them probably.
Oh, wow.
My
Jesus.
dumbass still goes out there and hunts by myself. Uh, there's two sections I hunt on this land. My daughter, sorry about that. It said low battery. My daughter does not go on this section of the property and hunt with me. She'll go help me put out corn. She'll help me check the cameras. She'll help me check the blind. You know, do the maintenance side of the hunting. She will not go out there and hunt with me. I won't allow her to hunt with me this section of the farm. The other section of the farm, where we found what we're going to call the Bigfoot hunting blind, that's where she hunts with me. That's where we do the youth hunt. That's where she'll go out with me during modern gun and hunt with me sometimes. No problem over there. Never seen any of the shadow figures over in that section of the property. We come to find out through my ex-father-in-law after Matthew, Tommy, Jacob, and I all, not Tommy, I'm sorry, Tony, Matthew, Tony, Jacob, and I all went out to look around the property after my episode. We come to find out that on the next parcel of land over, there was this massive black oak tree that allegedly marked the burial site for multiple black Indians. Now, when we say black Indians, we mean freed or runaway slaves that had mated with natives.
Right.
So black Indians, they're African American and Indian mixed people, um, and they apparently inhabited this land when his family bought it. So, and apparently the tribe or the nation that they were Choctaw. They were all Choctaw. So after I find this out, of course, me being the researcher I am, I start digging. And the first photo that came up, I'll send it to you after we get done. I'll find the photo again. I'll send it to you. And I have the drawing around here somewhere that I drew this thing. It's a Nalusa, which is it's a Choctaw cryptid who targets lone hunters, and it'll actually prick them with their finger, and they become paranoid, they become confused, they get lost in the woods, and then that's when they get lost in the woods and die. And part of me thinks the only reason why it didn't prick me is because I didn't dump 10 230 grain jacketed hollow points in them. Because I thought about it. I've got this fully loaded 45 with a 10-round mag in it, and I carry, because of the coyotes and the boar that we have out there, I carry 230 grain high expansion jacketed hollow points in this thing.
Oh, wow.
And my thought when I pulled the gun was, well, if this is some type of critter that's going to eat me, my family's going to know I at least put up a fight.
Right.
Because they're going to find the shell casings. But yeah, I see him walking through the woods out there. I've never had it come up on me again. But I've actually seen, so that photo that you put up, I've seen it at the end of the shooting lane, walk across into the parcel of woods where Matthew got zapped.
That's where he got zapped, was the same place?
Mm-hmm.
I knew he'd gotten zapped, but I didn't realize it was at that
about 150
location.
yards. Yeah, about 150
Holy
yards
cow.
away. Yep.
I'm looking for a
Yep. It's
picture.
a 40-acre parcel of the 200-acre farm. Yep. I've had another cryptid experience out there that Matthew and I actually were discussing today, or yesterday. We think we know what else I encountered out there. There's this lovely cryptid in Appalachia called the Notdeer.
Yep.
I think I've experienced 2 of them out there.
Really?
Yep. I was out there hunting again. Now this is on the section of property that I allow my daughter to hunt. And I know she's in the other room listening to this, and she's going to get freaked out. I'm sitting out there in one of the hunting spots that my father-in-law's dad used to hunt. Again, I'm on the ground because I wasn't going to get in the blind that was falling apart. And it's nighttime. It's not legal shooting time. We hear a gun go off several acres over, several farms over. We're like, there's the poachers again. Okay, we know exactly which family it is. And I hear something come running through the woods. And when we cut lanes, shooting lanes, we cut them big enough that we can drive our pickups or Jeeps, whatever, down through them without hitting limbs. So these are pretty tall shooting lanes, pretty wide shooting lanes. And whatever is coming through the woods, its antlers are hitting tree limbs. And I'm like,
Really?
okay, I know whitetail can get pretty big. They don't get that big in White County. We ain't got swamp donkeys like they have down south, which are basically the size of muleys or the size of mule deer, and we're too far south to have elk. And here this thing comes running through the woods. Again, it is darker than everything around it, and I see it coming through the lane, and I shoulder because we're about 5 minutes before legal shooting time, hoping it stops. Boom, short day. It keeps running, and I'm following it, and it passes in front of my ex-father-in-law's nephew's house, and it blocks out their porch light. And I'm like, holy crap, that's a big deer. Hoping it comes back around, and I got this massive trophy on my wall. It just kept on moving. Never saw that one again. 2 years ago, right before I got diagnosed, the year before I got diagnosed, I'm out there. It's the last day of a bow before Modern Gun kicks in. Like the Friday before Modern Gun opens. So I'd taken off work. I wanted to hunt. I'm out there. I'm walking out to my blind. I've got my little red light on. I'm sweeping so I don't run into spider webs. Of all the things in the world, I don't like spiders, man. I know it's totally irrational that I am fearful of something that I am 5,000 times larger than. But they can bite me.
And you might get superpowers, dude. Don't be afraid of them.
I might become, Spider-Man, do what Spider-Man does.
Well, I always thought it was weird though. If it was really Spider-Man, wouldn't he be shooting the web out of his butt?
Yes, absolutely. I thought that too. And he's only got 2. What about the eyes? And
he should have, you have at least 6 more, right?
Right. I mean, he should look like the old school Ant-Man, not Spider-Man.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Um,
Okay. Sorry.
yeah, no, you're good, man. You're good. So I'm walking out to my blind. I got this little pop-up across from where I'm feeding corn to them, which is legal here in Arkansas. Before anybody comments in the comments section, we are allowed to do that where I hunt. We can't have dogs, but we can feed them all season long if we want to.
Okay.
And they're out there eating a pile of my corn. And I'm looking at, I'm like, okay, cool, cool. And this is what makes me think it was a Notdeer. So one of the characteristics is it has forward-facing eyes like a predator. This deer was looking at me, not one eye, both of them looking at me. Eyes were lit up by the red light, of course, because eye shine, and it had a massive rack on it. And I've
Did
been
you say it
seeing
had
this
red eyes?
because of the red reflection with the eye
Okay.
shine, with the red light. Yeah. Um, so massive rack. I've caught this thing on camera a few times through the season, and I didn't save them. Years later, I wish I'd have saved the photos because this thing was huge. You know, it'd have been a beautiful buck on the wall, and it's got two more buck with it. And I'm like, it's the middle of the rut. That's weird that
That's
there's
real
three
weird.
bucks together at my corn, 20 yards from my pop up. So I keep walking, and they're not moving. Two of them are eating. This one that's got the massive rack is looking right at me. Okay, of course, I don't have a bolt in the crossbow. I've got a bad shoulder from martial arts, so I can't pull a bow. So I cheat. I use a crossbow. Sue me. I don't care. Um, okay, again, the trusty 45 comes out of the holster, and I'm walking at this thing, and John is staring right at me. And I'm 5'10", um, in my boots, probably closer to 5'11", in my hunting boots, and this thing is eye level with me, staring right at me. I'm like, that's a big damn deer. That's a big boy. And the two that were with him turn and start walking through the woods back towards the road, back to where I had the Nalusa encounter. And he's staring at me. And I'm like, okay, cool. You want to let's do this. I'm going to approach you. So I'm walking towards him. And as I start walking towards him, he turns and walks off, but he's staring at me the whole time. He
He's not
turns
looking
his
where he's
head.
going?
Nope, he turns his head and he's looking at me as he's walking through the woods. And of course, I'm keeping the light on him. I'm following him. As I'm walking to my blind, I get to my blind and I watch him turn his head and gallop off with the other two. I'm like, okay, that's weird.
That's
But I'm out
real
here. I'm going to
weird.
hunt. Um, I have not seen a deer out there since that until last weekend.
Really?
Yep. I've had them on camera. I've had them on camera. I've had monster doe, monster buck on camera. Have not seen one during the day until last weekend
Huh.
when I had one walk out on me. And I got excited. I missed. I hit a tree limb with the 30-30 instead of the deer. It happens. Kicked myself for 2 days for it because this was a perfect 6 point with the perfect basket rack. If somebody did take him next year, he's going to be a big old deer. But yeah, I haven't seen a deer in the daytime since till
Wow.
last weekend. Yep. So that one, and with the behavior of it, the size of it, the forward-facing eyes, the fact that it wasn't scared of me, that's a not deer.
Yeah.
If that fits every description of a not deer I've ever seen, which then ties into the Choctaw
Uh-oh.
also. Yep.
We kind of
Yeah, it ties into the Choctaw. Now, so we did a LIDAR scan of the area, and there are little mounds everywhere out there.
really.
Yep. Yeah. But it's like I said earlier, I'm still the dummy that goes out there by himself and hunts by himself for hours on end. Um, it's kind of my zen place. So, and I'm armed enough that I'm not worried about it. So,
I sent you a picture.
okay, that may be what froze it.
It had been a while ago whenever I sent it.
Yeah.
Whenever I had my encounter, and you've heard my encounter,
Mhm.
I believe you were the one who commented that you thought maybe I saw a Nalusa.
Yes.
And after you commented that, when I looked up the Nalusa, the picture that I sent you was like the second picture that came up.
Okay.
And, you know, when I first saw that picture, that's why for a while I did think that I had seen an Nalusa as well,
hmm
but I don't think it was. But
When I heard that episode, that is immediately that's where my brain went. Like that sounds like a Nalusa. That's either Nalusa or some type of Slender Man something thing going on here. Um, I can. So I have done pretty much everything there is to do except for being a jail guard slash prison guard in security and law enforcement. Um, I don't scare easy at all.
right.
At one point, I was a U.S. national team member 5 times for Taekwondo. I was Olympic hopeful in 2000 and 2004.
That's
Um,
awesome.
I started fighting grown men at 14 years old. I don't scare. I don't intimidate. I don't care how big you are. You want to throw, let's throw. And this thing with the Nalusa, it scared the tar out of me.
I was going to ask you that because I have a couple of little questions here real quick.
Yeah, man.
When and that's where I was kind of leading to whenever I, after my encounter and you made that comment, I started looking into the Nalusa.
hmm
And one of the things that kind of made me kind of lean towards the Nalusa was how I felt seeing it and immediately after.
hmm
One of the descriptions that I had read said that it gives you a feeling of overwhelming fear and sadness.
Yeah,
Is
yeah,
that what you experienced?
absolutely. Yeah. I was um I was scared enough I almost went back to my truck after it left. I almost said screw it, turned on the white light, pulled out the flashlight and went back to my truck. Um and then it, it's weird. For me I went back to the way I was raised. You know, if I call my dad and tell him about this and tell him I retreated my truck, what's he going to think of me? So I stayed. Um, I didn't take a deer that day, but I took a deer that I literally shot my first deer the next day. The next day, took my first deer. Um, and it was a doe, and I dropped her where she stood. Um, but yeah, overwhelming fear, um, dread would be the better term instead of sadness for me. Was the dread of okay, what if this thing comes back out here? You know, what if it comes back out here and I can't do anything about it? I don't know if this 45 or this 303 is going to do jack to it. You know, if I put 10 rounds in this thing and I have enough time to reload, is that going to do anything? Or am I toast at that point?
Right.
Um, then you start thinking about I've got a family to worry about. I've got a kiddo to worry about. I've got a wife that we just moved down here
Right.
to worry about. Um, and it brought up all these what all these thoughts that you don't normally have.
And that's one of the things that I had read in the description of the Nalusa is that it does that to you.
hmm
Um,
Yeah.
my understanding, and I don't claim to be an expert on the Nalusa, but when my little bit of research that I did on it, last year, um, is that it's a Native American spirit, a warrior spirit,
hmm
and it's often found in swampy areas.
Yep.
That's one of
Which
the things
would
that I read.
kind of describes where I hunt. Uh, it is roughly half a mile, maybe 3/4 of a mile from a wildlife reserve out there called Hurricane Lake. And Hurricane Lake is nothing but cypress trees and swamp.
Okay.
It's a very shallow lake. You can call it a lake. You ain't gonna take no ski boat down this lake. You better have a flat bottom or or maybe a John boat will get down through there, but you ain't gonna take no lake boat down through. You're not gonna launch a pontoon boat in this lake. Um, so yeah, that kind of explains the area. And when it rains out there, the mud out there, we It's a mixture of sand and red dirt. We call it
Okay.
gumbo mud, is what we call it, because
Looks like gumbo.
it,
I'm
it
here. I'm
yeah,
seeing
yeah,
gumbo
it,
there.
it, it looks like gumbo. It looks like that dark brown roux that you use in a gumbo. And I've seen big mud trucks get buried in this mud,
Oh.
and gets like we've had to get tractors out to pull these trucks out, because when it's not deer season, we go mud out there when it rains, man. We got a bunch of big old jacked up pickups and Jeeps. We're gonna go cut up the dirt as much as we can. Um, so yeah, that kind of that does lend to the Nalusa, the area that it's in. The fear, the dread, the sheer height of the thing and how skinny it was. The first photo I found of a Nalusa, I was like, no, not really. The second one, I'm very curious to see if it's the same photo, and well, I'll check that as soon as we get done recording.
It's a drawing. I'll
It's
tell
got
you
to be
that.
then. It's got to be. Yeah.
Is it blue? Blue background?
Yes. Yeah.
And it's like dragging its legs.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one that
Yep.
popped up for me because
Yep.
and I saw
That's
that and I was thinking, yeah, that's
yeah.
what I saw.
I've got the photo on my phone of what I drew, and if I can find it, I'll send it to you
Okay.
for the episode. And it's, man, this thing was like I've seen ghosts, I've seen demons. They didn't scare me the way this thing scared me. And for me, part of it was its speed.
Yeah.
How did this thing go from a tree line that is 40 feet away, 50 feet away to on me? And I'm literally that quick,
Wow.
and I'm just like, okay, okay. And it just instantly fight or flight kicked in. And I'm not one of those people that flight exists in. Um, because of the martial arts, because of law enforcement security, I've had it trained out of me. It's okay, we're going to fight or we're going to fight hard type of thing. Um, Flight is never an option for me, or has never been an option for me in my career field. And everything in me was telling me to run.
Wow.
So, and then, like I said, when it retreated, it wasn't okay, bye. It was gone. Yeah.
Was
And
there any smell?
no,
Okay.
no smell, um, nothing out of the ordinary of the woods. Um, I could hear it moving on the ground. Like I could hear its feet moving on the ground. Um, couldn't hear it breathing because I don't think it was breathing. I don't recall it breathing. Because like you see those monster movies where the thing's like, as it's
Right.
sitting there with the person. Wasn't doing that. It was just there and staring at me. Almost like, what are you? Why are you in my woods? Type of thing. Um, yeah, man, I'm getting the heebie-jeebies just thinking about it.
I get it, dude. I get it.
Yeah, and my dumb self is going to be out there Sunday morning in that spot, maybe.
Wow. Wow. Um, you said it 7 feet tall.
Hmm.
Were were the were the limbs proportional to that though? Yeah, I mean, you have when you think of like a human body,
Yeah,
if it was okay, if it was a Wemby, do you watch basketball at all?
no, no.
Oh, Victor
I'm a
Wembanyama.
baseball guy. The closest thing I can to, and this is so when I met Matthew, I told him I thought it was a skinwalker. We met at a Jeep event. I told him, yeah, man, there's this guy that I talked to that hunts out near where I hunt. Like I totally told him the story as like a third party, because I'm like, dude, I'm at a Jeep event. Yeah, this guy's cool, and he's wearing actually this shirt, but I don't want this dude to think I'm nuts. It's the first time I'm meeting this old boy. And yeah, we started talking because his Jeep is called the Black Pearl. My first Jeep was the Black Pearl. And then he saw my foot pegs on my Jeep, and my foot pegs are Sasquatches. Like it's the Patterson Gimlin walking Sasquatch is my foot peg. So, man, those are so cool. And that's when we start. Yeah, this old boy that I know hunts out where I hunt. I told him the story. And in fact, your hat is my foot pegs.
Oh, that's
That
awesome.
figure, yeah. Um, so, and then, a few months later, I was like, maybe a month later, I was like, hey, man, so that guy was me. And from what he told me, he made it about a paragraph into what I sent him, and he called me. He's like, dude, we got to get you on the show.
Yeah.
Okay, when, man? I was going through a divorce at the time. I was like, yeah, anything to get me out of this house, by all means. And Matthew even said that when I told him the story in person, he's like, you could see the fear come over you when you were telling it. And it's like, well, yeah, because all these years later, I can still see this thing vividly in my head, and nothing I've seen since has scared me like that. And I've seen things since. The house I lived in with my ex-wife, um, I saw little 2 foot tall shadow figures in the backyard. Um, and as of the last recording, when I recorded the episode with Drunken Cryptids, they hadn't made it into the house. They did by the time that we moved out. I would
Really?
see them in the house by the time we moved out. And I would also see 7, 8 foot tall shadows in the house by the time we moved out. Every single house I've lived in, including the one I'm sitting in right now, I've seen shadow figures.
I'm
Um,
going with Matthew. I think that there's something either generational with you
mhm.
or there's something attached to you.
Very well could be. Um, where I'm sitting now, my blessed cross is about 10 feet from me. I have a crucifix that I got at the Vatican that I paid the extra money to have blessed by the Pope. And I had lost it for years. I moved out of my mom and dad's house, moved in with the one girlfriend, moved out of there, moved back into mom and dad's, moved in with the woman who became my wife, moved from Fayetteville to Springdale to another house in Springdale, then finally down here, to the Little Rock area. So I hadn't found this thing for years. Um, Finally found it, hung it up. As soon as I hung it up, the sleeping into wake visions stopped. I stopped seeing the demons. I've seen a handful since, not near what I used to. Um, and I got to the point with them where I'd wake up, I'd see one. I distinctly remember one. I was working midnights. I had just laid down. If you've ever worked midnights, you know how that is. You work all night, you come home, you take a shower, you get something to eat because you're starving, even though you had dinner at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. By the time you get home, you're like, man, I need pizza rolls or something. You eat, I lay down, and I wear contacts, so I don't have my contacts in or anything. And I know the door to the bathroom suite is closed. That's attached to the master bedroom. And this thing is standing in the doorway, like it came through the doorway, like I watched it. And I sat up in bed and I looked at it and I went, man, get the out of my house. I'm trying to sleep here, man. Never saw it again. And that was just like kind of like a green shadow. Is was that like I couldn't make out features on that one. It was just kind of like a green shadow. And like I said, I told it to get out, never saw it again.
Wow.
Um, House we lived in when we first moved down here, I know it's haunted by some of my ex-wife's relatives because they died on the property, and they also grew up in the house. So I know that's who's in that house. I would describe the voices to my mother-in-law, and she said, "Yeah, that's so and so, and that's so and so, and that's so okay, cool, not a problem. Know who that is. Not worried about them." The house we moved into when we bought a house was a brand new build. Never saw a demon in that one, but I would see the shadow figures. And the thing that people need to realize is whenever you see a shadow figure, you're not always seeing it in front of you, like full body. You're seeing it out here. You're
Hmm.
barely catching a glimpse of it. And you turn your head. They can say tired, whatever. For me, it had an uptick when I started getting the chemo. Um, and I don't know if it's because I was so tired that I couldn't block it out anymore, because when you grow up with this stuff, you learn how to control it, you learn how to block it out. And part of that is I'm wondering if I didn't inherit this from my grandmother, from her mother, and I've just never honed it to be able to use it like on certain TV shows, where they're actually communicating with them and they're seeing them right there in front of them. I've never trained my brain for that. I've never trained the second sight, if you will, developed it to that point. Um, Never wanted to, because it's bad enough when you see him out of the corner of your eye. I don't know what it'd be like driving down the road. You see dude standing on the corner, man. You know, you see weird enough things in Little Rock as is.
I'm wondering, I don't know. I don't know. Have you ever had physical contact with any of these shadow creatures?
No,
Okay.
nope, no. I've never, even on the
Never been
ghost
scratched or
investigation,
anything like that?
nothing. Nope. Um, I've had my shirt tugged once or
Okay.
twice. Um, I had my shirt tugged at the Crescent. Um, I saw all sorts of stuff at the Crescent. Um, and I had my shirt tugged at Pea Ridge Battlefield in Northwest Arkansas.
Okay.
Um, I've got stories, second and third hand stories about Pea Ridge and Prairie Grove, which are two major battlefields up there in Northwest Arkansas. Um, the Crescent Hotel there in Eureka Springs, it is extremely haunted. Um, I had a bad enough experience there that me and the girl I was dating at the time left at 3 a.m. and drove back to Fayetteville.
Really?
Yeah, we were staying in we were all in the honeymoon suite, all of it. There were like 7, 8 of us in the honeymoon suite, which is the suite the carpenter fell off of to his death. He
Uh-huh.
was working on that suite when he fell. Um, Same hall as the famous haunted room. Um, we had gone out ghost hunting and whatnot. I saw the chandelier in the ballroom swaying. There's nothing above it, so there's no reason for it to be swaying. Tons of shadow figures in that place, tons of them. To the point I started ignoring them. There were so many of them.
Wow. Were other
When
people
we were,
seeing them too, or just you?
I was the only one in my group that saw them. If you get online and Google the Crescent Hotel, fill in the blank, shadow, ghost, apparition, whatever, you're going to find millions of returns.
Right.
It is probably the most haunted hotel in America, um, because of what the doctor that turned it into a clinic said he had a cure for cancer and all he was doing
Doctor.
was killing people. Yeah, which now strikes home to me very much. Now I'm
Right.
like, oh, F that guy. Yeah, I hope your spirit is stuck here in purgatory. Yeah, but I got my shirt tug walking down the hall there. It's just like, it's like the tail of the shirt. I'm like, okay, maybe it was my pants, kind of played it off. But when we got in there and we started, cutting up and, it was getting close to bedtime, so we all kind of went to our separate rooms. Me and her are sitting there, and I'm like, because she had known all this. Um, she had experienced me waking up in the middle of the night, seeing something, and getting up ready to fight the thing. Um, and I was like, "You get to drive?" Because I'd had a few beers. I didn't want to drive because if you ever go to Eureka, holy crap, it is switchback after switchback after switchback to get up out of the valley that it's in. To get to the main road, you're doing this number, and after a few beers, I didn't feel like doing that. So we got up out of there, and it was like I said, it was like 3 a.m. and
Wow.
we started getting calls, and where are you guys? Yeah, we bounced. Sorry. Um, yeah. But those are the only few times I've ever been touched. I know we've had some people touched on some of our investigations. Um, I've never been with somebody that's been scratched or grabbed or pushed or anything like that. Of course, I've seen the YouTube videos, I've seen the Facebook reels, the shorts and all that. I've seen those. I've listened to firsthand accounts about it, and I've talked to people that say they've been touched and grabbed and scratched, and I've never personally seen like what you see on the two really big shows of ghost hunting.
Right. Yeah. Wow. Well, Chris,
Yeah.
we've been going for like an hour and a half now.
Awesome, man. I love it.
So,
Yeah.
why don't you tell everybody where they can find you?
Okay. Like I said, I'm one of the drunken cryptids. If you, I'm on Instagram. You just got to search my name. You'll find me on Instagram. I'm not very active on social media. Um, I probably should be with the photography business, but yeah, I'd rather be out there shooting photos and everything. But you can find me at the Drunken Cryptids. If you want to reach out to me, just let Matthew know, and that is my work phone. I
Somebody's
don't know
trying to
where that.
reach out to you right
Yeah,
now.
yeah,
That's
that's my work
somebody
phone.
from the future.
It is. It is. I didn't even know this thing was still on. Sorry about that.
It's a
Stupid
ghost
thing.
phone.
It is, man. That's my work phone. It rings constantly. Yeah, it's like Drunken Cryptids. We're on Facebook. We're on Spotify. We're on Instagram. We're all of them. If it is a streaming service for this type of thing, we're on there. If you're interested in talking to me, if you have some listeners that have their own podcast, by all means, reach out to the Drunken Cryptids. Matthew or Tommy will get the word to me, and I'm happy to talk to you.
Right. Right. And my podcast friends, if you want to talk to Chris, I can get a hold of him too. Just
Yeah,
let me know.
absolutely. Yeah,
Well, Chris, I do appreciate you coming on,
yeah.
and I do apologize that you have to hang out with Matthew so much.
Hey, man, he's a good guy. If we can just get that coffee addiction under check, man. It's bad. No,
Right.
Matthew's great. Matthew's great. He's doing something with the cryptid community that, in my opinion, has needed to be done for a long time. Fresh blood, fresh
Yep.
ideas.
Yep.
Um,
I agree.
if you haven't listened to his theories on how they move, by all means, check out the Drunken Cryptids. We're a little different. We're a lot like John here. We're not going to be, here's your information. Okay, bye. We want to have that conversation. We want you to feel like you're there sitting around the campfire having a beer with us, or in my case, root beer. If you don't believe me, it is root beer.
Oh, I love IBC.
Oh man. So because of the cancer, that's the one vice I have is root beer. And
Does your
I will,
McDonald's serve IBC?
no.
Ours do.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Ooh. Now I've heard through the grapevine that do y'all have Sonic drive-ins where you are?
There's very few.
Okay. I've heard their root beer is very close to A&W.
Oh,
Now,
really?
if you have an A&W, if you've ever had A&W fresh out of like the draw, oh my God, so good. Yeah,
Yeah.
I know where there's one, and I'm going up there in a couple of weeks. So
Well,
yeah,
we got off topic. So let me get back
yeah,
to the show
yeah,
here.
start.
So once again, Chris, thanks for coming on. And if you've had a paranormal encounter you'd like to share, you can email me at mythsandmullets@gmail.com. Until next time, I'll talk to you later. Gotta go. And that's it for tonight. If you haven't yet, make sure you're checking out the descriptions on all my videos. You're going to find a list of all my favorite podcasts, from Nevermore Hollows, Drunken Cryptids, Chumming with the Spirits, Ghost Gossip, and so much more. I like them, and I think you will too. And if you go over to their show, make sure you tell them John sent you. And if you've had a paranormal encounter you'd like to share, you can email me at mythsandmullets@gmail.com. Good night, everyone.
Out in the woods, shadows creep slow. Footprints deep where no man should go. Cold winds howl through hollers and brooks. Whispers of Bigfoot in the way it looks. Myths, monsters, and bullets in the night. Under a pale moon, strange glowing light. Truth out there like a blade it cuts. Myths, monsters, and bullets run 'em up.